Okay. Looks like we're up and streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. We're going to start the show in a minute, waiting on Michael Markman, but maybe we won't wait on Michael Markman. We will start without him and he'll join in. Let me see if I'm getting anything from him. Hang on. Yep. Snoozed. Okay. He's coming. All right.
Now let's just start.
Okay. Let me just tell him to jump in.
There he is.
Okay. All right, Michael.
All right. Mic check from Michael.
Yes.
Audio.
Okay.
You could call it a Michael check.
Michael check. This is my microphone.
Okay, fine. All right, let's go, Tina.
All right, here we go. Mute is off. And we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1, and
that's the way it is. Okay. This is Steve Gillmor. This is the Gillmor Gang. Joining us from London.
oh, little one, please.
Well, after my lower third expires, is Frank Radis. Welcome, Frank.
Hi, Steve. Hello, gangsters. Nice to be back on the line with you guys.
Also, originally from Manchester, is it?
No.
No. Okay, fill in blank now. This is Mad Lib.
Scarborough, originally from Scarborough.
Oh, there you go. Is in Palo Alto is Keith Tier. Welcome, Keith.
A great pleasure to be here. The Manchester Association is because I support Manchester United. And I did live in Manchester briefly and was on the gang from there a couple of times.
Oh.
Joining us from the state of Seattle is, or nearby, is Michael Markman. Welcome, Michael.
How do you do? Glad to be with you. You need more time? I'll give you more time. It's overcast here in Seattle, but still no rain.
I can tell by the reflection off the books. Off the books, get it?
Off the books.
Okay. In Atlanta, Georgia, or nearby, is Brent Leary. Welcome, Brent.
Thank you. And I'm from Lancashire.
You're not.
Is that how they say it there?
No, we say
That was,
Lancashire.
well, in Wilmington, Delaware, we say Lancashire. So that's where I was from.
You
Okay.
pronounce the whole Shire word. We just say Yorkshire, Lancashire.
We do it like Frodo Baggins, the Shire, Lancashire. Works for us.
You're more correct, but that is what people say.
Before Dennis falls asleep, from the state of Massachusetts, or the Commonwealth thereof, is Dennis Pombriant. Welcome, Dennis.
That's right. Here I am. I'm here. I was born in Attleboro, Massachusetts, which is a sister city to Attleboro, England, where the writer George Eliot was from.
Well, I was born in New York, which is the sister city of York. No, it's not.
It's the sister city of New York State, right? New York, New York.
So great.
Why
They had
no
to name
work
it twice.
is the anagram.
What's that?
What?
Huh?
Why no work, as Phil Proctor calls it, is the anagram.
Why
And legs on sale is the anagram for Los Angeles.
Oh, very nice.
I guess. All right. So
I guess that launched Harvey Weinstein's career, huh?
Ew.
Well, we seem to be going in one direction.
yeah,
Great
it's
time.
inevitable.
Is that like down the drain?
Off the books.
Undercover.
I just opened my new shaving soap. If this doesn't get better, I'm going to go shave.
Okay, well, let us know when that happens.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll
Look at him.
see ya.
Look at him. He's snorting that thing, man.
Okay. So at the risk of I've got a list here, by the way. See?
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. So the first thing that I want to ignore on this list is the Apple Epic story.
Hmm.
God,
So-
never seen so many stories written about that in the last hour.
Yeah, well, I have.
Is that the Apple story about the paywall or the payment system?
It is a story about a payment system. Yes.
Okay, everybody gets 2 words. Go ahead.
I'll
Oh,
start.
you did. That was cool. You did
That's
say
2
go
words.
ahead. So those are your 2 words, right?
Michael.
I've got Apple wins. And then the other 2 words are Apple loses.
Wait. So when Michael talks, the words come out of Keith's mouth. Michael,
I
you
used
were
up my
going to
2
start?
words saying I was going to start. So that's why I started.
I know
I left.
the protocol
it to
is difficult to understand. I know.
So the headline is that the ruling went against Apple, but the 2 things to say are, 1, it's not over, and 2, the ruling is 185 pages long, and explicitly the judge said they haven't proved a monopoly case, and Apple is not a monopoly. Success is not illegal, so you can bet Apple will appeal, and this is not over.
Yeah, that
Well,
was
Michael,
weird
did
that
you
the
read that?
judge-
Wait a minute, Michael, did you read the 185 pages already? Is that
No. I read a summary that found that for me.
Ah,
Washington
okay.
Actually,
Post.
it's double
Washington
spaced.
Post article talks
It's-
about it.
It seems odd that the judge would leave that door open.
What door? That they're not a monopoly?
But that they did something that was against the law in California.
Who did?
Yes, Apple. That by locking down them as the singular pay wall or the singular place where you would go to pay for something is against the law in California, but it's not a monopoly. It just seemed like that it
well,
opens up a door.
It's the judge's opinion that California's anti-competitive behavior law was violated by the App Store not allowing third-party payment systems, only its own. But at the federal level, Apple is not a monopoly. And
Well, actually, to be put a more fine point on it, the plaintiff did not prove that Apple was a monopoly.
Yeah.
The judge left open that more evidence might come in from other lawsuits, and he just said not proven. He didn't rule that Apple was not a monopoly. He just said it was not proven that it
See,
was.
I think that the judge is actually telegraphing something to Congress. Congress has been talking about monopoly legislation. We think of it as Sherman Act, and we think of it as previous monopolies. I think what the judge is saying is that if Congress is willing and is discussing redefining what monopoly practice is, then this could have a very different outcome. But that hasn't happened yet. So that's why I think the judge is simply saying to Congress, hey, time for you guys to step up.
Right. Well, we know how effective that can be, saying Congress, wake up.
Yeah, they have a lot on their plate right now, I think.
Yeah, a lot of things that they're not doing on their plate. So they can add this
Yes, that's true.
one. Mhm.
This just gets added to the things that they aren't going to do right away. Probably.
Exactly. You said
Yeah.
that better than I did. Okay. Steve, what do you think? I don't care, actually. I don't
And then
I don't
move
play
on.
games, and therefore
It's about games,
oh yeah, well, that's what
Apps?
many of the
apps,
articles
apps.
many of the articles say that this is all about the games.
Well, it was about Fortnite, wasn't it? I mean, even to get more specific.
Yep.
Which is, a game I don't play. I don't play games.
Well, yeah, this particular plaintiff brought the case, so that's what it was about. But it has larger implications.
well,
Yeah.
it feels to me more subtle because the judge also told Epic they have to pay Apple 30% of all the monies they collected from the back door they opened up because they broke Apple's terms and conditions. So Epic has to give Apple $3.5 million in revenues that Apple would have taken had they used the App Store. So it's actually a fairly subtle ruling, and it feels to me as if she defined the market as the mobile gaming market. So whenever you're assessing whether somebody is anti-competitive, you have to start by defining what the market is. So the market isn't app stores or even games or even billing systems. It's the mobile gaming market. And you know, therefore, almost every different app would have to launch its own lawsuit unless it's a mobile gaming app.
Well, I'm going to take 30% of the words off of each of you and give them to Brent. Brent, your comment?
No comment. Oh, no. I don't know. Apple and Epic. It seems like Epic is becoming a real thorn in Apple's side, and all the little. I don't know if all the little guys, but all the app makers are really rooting Epic on. I don't know. It seems like there's a little good news for both sides on that one, though.
Well, haven't the app makers been very outspoken about the fact that they don't want there to be just one way of buying in-app purchases?
Well, they could go to Google.
They could, yeah.
Okay, so there isn't just one way.
Well, there's one that has a lot more opportunity for actual money.
iOS.
In other words, what they're arguing over is how much more opportunity is there?
Have you seen Amazon's workaround? If you try and buy a Kindle book on an iOS device, you can't buy it. You can download a free sample, and then you can buy it
That's
from
weird.
inside the sample if you have a Kindle reader. So
It's all about that. It's
Amazon
all about
has found a route around the Apple.
I had to do this when
I
I
don't
launched
understand.
when I launched the Just.me app. We had a payment element to it, and we got disapproved on the App Store, and we had to decide either to build in Apple's payment system or not to have a payment system at all. And when you figure it all out as a developer, at the end of the day, it's way worth more paying Apple, because the volume, you'll get way more than 30% more signups. So the price you're paying Apple is a small fraction of the increased revenues that you wouldn't even get if you didn't use Apple's payment system, because it's so convenient. They've got all of our credit cards. Apple is supplying to them not just a technical payment system, but an audience of 1 billion people whose credit card's already on file, who can buy with one click. It's massively valuable. And if you try to, firstly, if you try not to use that, you're going to get less signups for sure. So you're punishing yourself. And secondly, you're freeloading on something that's being given to you. You're seeking carriage without reward to the person giving you carriage. Imagine if a TV channel said it's not.
Wait a minute. When Apple announced the iPhone, everybody was complaining about the fact that there was no way for developers to get into the game.
Yeah.
All right. So if when you say that they're freeloading, so Apple is also freeloading on app makers.
No, not at all.
Of course, at all.
No,
Well,
it's
it
giving
isn't
them
free.
it's giving them a massive market that didn't previously exist, worth hundreds of billions of dollars. It's not freeloading. It's actually gifting developers revenue.
Do you really think that if all that you could get in the App Store was Final Cut Pro, that it would be worth billions of dollars? I mean, it became a marketplace as a result of having access to that market.
The iPhone was a success way before there was an app store.
No, I disagree. If it was such a success, why did Steve Jobs say that there was no way that we were going to open this up? And then, oh, wait a minute, there's this thing called the web. Oh, okay, it's open.
Well, you know,
That's what he said.
Look, a thing can be a success and still have further success. You know, it's not to say that the original iPhone was a failure. It was a success. Apple built on it. And I don't think it's a question of freeloading. I mean, there's a mutual exchange of values, and I think Keith has expressed it very well. There is benefit on both sides, and it's
but I hear him expressing the freeloading thing. I don't hear him expressing the value to the marketplace.
The freeloading.
Yes, I might object to the word freeloading.
The
but
freeloading is if
clearly there's
the
mutual
developers
benefit.
doesn't want to share back with Apple any revenue.
Okay, so you object to the freeloading. So do I. Go ahead.
What I'm saying is, just in case I'm not being clear, I'm not saying there's any freeloading right now. Most of the developer services where the developers are not paying Apple anything is built into the App Store. If you're not charging money for your stuff, Apple doesn't get anything from you, but it provides you free global distribution. So that's fine. That's not freeloading because that's part of the deal. Freeloading is when you want to use Apple's platform to collect revenue and not share any of it with Apple, which doesn't happen today. There is no freeloading today. Epic wants there to be freeloading. It wants to be able to get the distribution without sharing the revenue.
Well, I think that the reality here is not in black and white terms. What Epic is trying to do, and everybody else is trying to do, is to negotiate with Apple, and they're being successful at it. So that's why I don't really care about the term freeloading, but I think that it frames the discussion in a way that ignores, what's really going on here, which is it's like Congress, basically. They talk about, Congress doing something about something, 3.5 trillion, and then, what's it actually going to be, and how is it going to be counted, and are they going to be able to hide it until after the midterms, on and on. It's a negotiation, and it's a time frame that is being, I wouldn't say manipulated. So this, I think, Frank said it, I think, or somebody said it, it's definitely a balanced ruling in the sense that it's a sign pointers toward a resolution of the issue.
You know why it's a monopoly in a way? I think Keith is hitting on something with the freeloading. Over time, the cost of any service like this should go down as the service commoditizes. But because Apple doesn't have a lot of competition, it doesn't have to commoditize. It doesn't have to lower its prices to be competitive. But in point of fact, it's got more customers or more application developers on the system than ever before. And the cost per company, the cost per developer to Apple has gone way, way down because the infrastructure has been built for a long time. It's reasonable for the partners to be asking for some relief, some reduction in price in percentage. And maybe a compromise position might be to tier the tariff based on the volume.
Yeah, but what Epic did isn't that. I mean, if Steve was right that Epic was negotiating, that'd be one thing. What Epic did is it explicitly built in a backdoor payment system against the terms and conditions it had signed up for, because it was failing in its negotiations. And it therefore resorted to direct action, if you like, which the judges decided was illegal on Epic's part.
Yeah, but before the ruling, Epic already won, because they've, Apple has made adjustments in terms of the percentage and so on. I mean, so this is a negotiation. This is a strategy. You can say that they did something illegal, but like, so what? I mean, illegal is in the eye of the beholder, and it's going to be illegal right up until they make a deal.
Yeah. But if I'm Apple, and I pretty much look at the world through Apple's eyes in this regard, because I've been a developer and I know how much you spend and time and energy you put in to build something that's successful, and then you want to monetize it. And I think that's kind of reasonable. So I look at it through Apple's eyes. Epic to me is like a bandit that you can't really do business with because they don't play by the rules.
Well, I don't know, which is it? And I don't want to keep going on this subject because Brent has a hard stop in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. But, it seems to me that you're taking both sides of the same question when you say that Epic is acting like a bandit. Well, Apple is exercising its market power.
Yeah,
like
I remember when I started EasyNet, I had to put CDs in front of people so my ISP could get installed. And I remember paying Compaq £1 million for a 12-month marketing agreement, not to get my software installed even, just to put the CD in the box. And so it's standard operating procedure that if you have a market and customers and someone else wants access to them, they pay you.
You pay them.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I mean. You pay them.
Yeah.
It's just normal. Now, it turns out Apple has had a very, very it's much bigger than Compaq was back in the day. And for the most part, it lets me distribute for free unless I'm paying, which is a massive plus to everyone. And, to seek 30% of proceeds for stuff that flows through its billing system and to insist on using that billing system, I don't know if that's that onerous.
It's actually, because, Apple is not charging you to put your CD in the box. You get to put your CD in the box for free.
Yeah.
And they're only charging you if someone buys something from your CD.
I think one of the other things I thought that I read was that there were no comparisons to other places where you would be able to spend your money other than the Apple way of spending it, that actually showed that going somewhere else was going to save you money. Was that clear? Did I make myself clear just then? That a third or a fourth company where you might be able to use some type of card or whatever it was, there was no comparisons. So what would be the reason, unless you could go somewhere else and it cost you less money to do the same thing? And I can't imagine that that the provider, that is the person that created the app, would actually want to sell something for less money. I don't know. Am I wrong?
It can piss you off. I mean, when I did Just Me, I really didn't want to share any money with Apple because my greed gene kicked in. But once common sense hits, it's kind of a good deal.
I mean, it clearly is the only game.
Well, it's not the only.
It was the only
deal. There's this thing called the web.
Yeah.
I personally like the Apple environment more than the web, but that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that.
And often you find yourself not actually finding something available on the App Store that you just go to the web to find it, and then it comes up as though it were available on the App Store. I just actually had that experience a few minutes ago when I was downloading an app for a thing called Impact, which is a music app. And it wasn't available on the App Store. Maybe that's because I'm in the UK. But I went to their website, found it, downloaded it, and it looked exactly as it would have if it had been on the App Store.
Yeah, but to, be fair to what Keith is saying, it's a magnitude of difference between,
Yeah.
screwing around with, web forms and being in a aggressive game-like environment where you get points and starting to sound like crypto to me.
Hey, Steve,
Yeah.
let me ask you a question. You've had an app on the App Store, or you worked towards that. What did you pay Apple during the process of development and deployment?
Virtually nothing. It's like $150 a year for a developer license.
Okay, so did you ever have to access their experts?
No, we avoided that by just staying in the test. What's it called?
Test flight.
Test flight environment where.
But let me ask you this: could you?
But Dennis,
they don't have any comment because they don't think that you are serious, and I think they're probably right.
You don't get charged for access to the experts either, Dennis. It's $99 a year now for a developer license, and you get all of the middleware that you need to develop and push your app through to adjudication or whatever it's called, and then it goes live. And in fact, they meet with you for free. They invite you to the developer conference. They inform you about new features that are coming. If you use some of the new features, they promote you. And
all that's true. And then also they make it very clear that if when you actually try and release the app, then they put the hammer down about what it is that you can do with it. So it's everything you want except the real power that you're actually looking for.
Well,
the
point I'm trying to make is that there's a lot of upfront investment that Apple makes in a company. And I'm sure there isn't a perfect batting average of companies that start out and companies that get onto the App Store. So somebody's going to pay for all of that back office operation.
Yeah, they're doing pretty well, I think. So I don't think that I'm too worried about Apple's ability to be able to monetize their products.
Well,
interestingly, Frank in his newsletter has an article about a recording app, and it's interesting. We might get to it if we ever get off of this topic, but the DeSantis won some ruling. That's great.
Oh, Abbott just signed a new thing into law that doesn't seem to be getting much press, and I'm really surprised by that. But we could talk about that later too.
Yeah. So my point about this recording app is that at the bottom of the article it says they have no plans to release an Android version.
I hear a lot of that.
Yeah. I mean, when we were developing the Gillmor Gang app, we had no plans. Still have no plans to release an Android version. But a web version that will service that area is where we get into, React frameworks and a bunch of stuff that actually brings you closer to a universal app. And I think, Apple has done a really good job of maintaining their relationship with the developers that keep them in business. So I think that's going to win the day, regardless of the concerns that people have about lack of innovation or innovation crushing or platform bashing that are circling this issue. But enough of what I think. Brent, you've got, I can give you a list of things that I could bring up, but what's floating your boat before you have to take off? Yeah. It's rough.
See, there's a couple of things. I saw and of course, I'm always looking at the Amazon stuff. They're going to be paying folks to go to school.
Mm.
I thought that was interesting. And then there was something else. Oh, did we even talk about it? Because I think this is last week's news. They're working on a kind of a clubhouse thing, which I thought you might be interested in, Steve.
Hmm.
It's like there was something else they're doing. I can't even think of it right now, but those are two kind of big ones. And then of course there's Facebook having to apologize once again for their AI facial recognition not being able to tell the difference between a black man and a primate. That's one that kind of caught my attention too. Oh, and then they're the same company that wants to, they're announced putting out their new smart glasses. So
Oh, Ray-Ban.
yeah, smart glasses, dumb AI. That doesn't sound like a good combination.
Yeah, there's no AR in those smart glasses, apparently.
Just a camera
Yeah.
and earphones.
Probably should be an AF at this point.
Ooh.
Or an AFU.
Okay, enough of the sneak peek fishing. As I said,
I'm not sneak peek fishing.
No, I
You
didn't
asked me
think
what
you
I
were.
was thinking.
I
That
was
is
very careful
exactly what I
about
was
what I was
thinking.
talking about.
Oh,
I mean, didn't Facebook stop that that whole plan? No, was it of who was it that was gonna who was looking at photographs and trying to figure
That
out
was
whether you
Apple.
had Apple. Didn't they stop that? Didn't that just get stopped? I think.
They
It
got
is-
shamed
it-
into stopping it, basically.
It's in limbo at the moment. I don't think it's
Yeah.
gone, but it's in limbo.
The algorithm
did it
continue
get-
to work. It's just
Did it get shamed into putting it in limbo? Is that what happened?
Well, I
a
think
lot
there
of
was too much
blowback.
controversy, and I think they didn't want to go into those headwinds right now because they're moving into heavy product launch season, and they'd like to keep the decks cleared.
Except for this game this game lawsuit.
so. Another thing from Frank Radis's fantastic newsletter
Thank you.
that I want to direct at Brent in the remaining seconds that we have is Jim Cramer, the fabulous analyst and
The Mad Money guy.
yeah, that guy. He's signed a new deal. This is kind of like Rachel Maddow 2.0 or 3.0. And you can refer back for what that reference means. But the interesting thing that I saw about it was he's doing something called CNBC Investor Club. And basically, he's delving into the creator economy.
Great.
You think that might be interesting as these media on camera editor types are slowly becoming, engaged in creating product? I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, he doesn't jump into something like that unless he sees a real opening to make money. I mean, think of what he was doing even before he went to CNBC, and he's not a stupid man, and he does. And also, I think it's very interesting that he will be able to, and he still is able to make on CNBC, and probably on his new ventures, he will be able to make his opinions public as long as they put a rejoinder at the end of his opinion saying this is not an opinion of CNBC, it's just Jim Cramer's opinion.
I'm guessing he's going to get, I don't know, maybe a 30% commission on all the people that sign up for this club.
Yeah, and then he'll turn everything into an NFT and he'll sell it for crypto.
Yeah, evidently Apple is opening up NFTs, or at least supporting them, right, Keith?
It hasn't actually ever blocked them in any way. So it also supports crypto wallets and DeFi. Pretty much everything in crypto is supported.
If I lose my crypto wallet, can I get it replaced?
Yeah. Actually, when you open a crypto wallet, you decide something like 24 words. You save those words. If you ever lose your wallet, just type those words in the right order, and it recreates the exact wallet with all the crypto still there.
And that's other than your password, which if you lose, you're usually SOL.
Yeah, there is no password. This is now usually there's
25
also
of them.
the,
Now you got to know 25 passwords.
if somebody finds your 24 words, they can get your wallet. But what they can't do is do your two-factor authentication. So
Well,
they
they're
can't-
safe from me.
Yeah,
I,
25 words.
the last show that we did, I was, oh no, it wasn't the Gillmor gang. It was the CRM Players gang, where I was trying to remember somebody who I just read about like maybe 30 seconds before. And the name, for those who are playing along, is Nicky Hopkins, one of the great session keyboard players of all time. And I couldn't remember that. And then I couldn't remember, what was the thing that you reminded me of? Oh,
Taylor.
no.
and then
The
I couldn't
writer.
remember what I couldn't remember.
I couldn't remember what I don't remember what I had for breakfast. Come on.
Terry Southern. Well, all I'm trying to say is that this NFT thing is going to really go well for those of us who can't remember the last two words that we said.
But you remember when they first started, and we had a bit of discussion about how real they are and whether it's going to be one of the big things. And now they're firmly established now as a thing, used by all.
Yeah,
kinds
it's like
of,
crypto.
yeah.
Dennis, you still with us?
Yeah.
I'm just no, I was expecting you to leave us. But
Oh,
hey,
I
Jimmy
give
Jam,
up
Jimmy
show
Jam
business.
is back. How about that? You think Brent, Jimmy Jam is back in the business, making records again?
Without Terry Lewis?
No, the two of them,
Were they
both
ever
back.
gone?
Yeah.
Don't scare me like that.
No, I'm sorry. Yes, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, they're both
But when you
back
say
in
back-
the studio.
Haven't they been there all along?
I think they've been on like a hiatus for a pretty long time, haven't they? I think so. This is
heard
this is
anything
the first,
really
certainly the first time I've heard that they are doing anything new in a long time. Anyway, I just find that interesting.
So
That is
to
interesting.
me, the biggest trend of the week is Twitter announcing groups and Bitcoin tip jar. It's more Twitter innovation, leading to Twitter having all the features required for all of the stuff that people are starting to use in this, in quotes, creator economy.
Well, I was thinking about that, Keith, this as before we came on the air this evening. And my question was, why would I want to tip?
Why would you want to receive one?
No, why would I want to give one?
I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, why would you want to listen to a podcast?
Does anybody ever put anything in the open guitar case of a busker?
Yeah, I
Why do
do,
you
but
do
I
that?
do that I do that because I feel, like as a musician, I want to support live music. So maybe I see what you're saying. I get it, but I'm going to play the devil's advocate and say, why would I want to tip on Twitter?
It's basically, when you think about it, a tip jar is halfway between free and subscription. It's like a soft opt-in way of paying someone. Now, there are people like, there are people who I wouldn't subscribe to, like say Andrew Sullivan. I don't subscribe to his Substack, but I do read him every now and then, and I might give him a tip, randomly, because I appreciate the fact that he exists and he's writing and he's putting effort in. But I wouldn't subscribe because I don't like his stuff enough to want to see it all the time.
I look at it the other way.
Patreon. Patreon's a good example. It is a voluntary subscription service, and they've been building quietly for years, and they're very successful now.
But I think Frank's point is significant, which is you don't ever hear about the fact that, I mean, like you just talked about Andrew Sullivan. Yeah, I understand. Bye, Brent.
Galmain.
Thank you, Brent.
Sorry we had to
Go
start late.
Rams. Go
Go
Rams. Yes. And go me. See ya.
What you said, Keith, about Andrew Sullivan was, occasionally you'll look at something. How do you look at something? It's because he's providing the other end of the tip jar. He's tipping the readers to get them to pay attention to him without being compensated directly.
Yeah, I do that a lot on Substack. Substack, they have this option, read it first. And I always read it first, which means that you're a subscriber to whatever they put out for free.
So wait a minute. I was just going to say, you're reading your own stuff first so that you can tip yourself.
No, other people's stuff.
Yeah, if you have a you read first, and you always use that and never subscribe, what's that about?
Well, basically, that's you do go into their subscriber list with an email address. So if they send something out, you get it. So they get to alert and notify you. So basically, you're giving them some value, which is the ability to reach you by doing read it first. And then their job is to upsell you to a paid subscription, which in my experience, no one ever, I think out of 5,000 subscribers to my newsletter, I've got like 10 people who pay.
Well, it's like Benedict Evans when he went to his pay newsletter. Occasionally what he'll do is he'll post an article that's only for subscription several weeks later. And that always reminds me of, gee, that's, the guy's incredibly intelligent, and this is a very valuable perspective. However, do I have to wait? And if I have to wait, then why would I want to subscribe?
Well, the Patreon works the other way. Patreon gives people who subscribe advanced looks at things, not later looks at things. It seems like they've set up the business rules in a perverse way. If you have to wait, but if you're a paid subscriber, you should get it a day earlier.
I also think it's that dividing line between people who are leveraging these tools because they want to try to make a living from what they love doing, versus people who use these tools as something other than making a living. It's like the front end where they engage with the world, which is what I do. So I'm lucky because I can make a living already. So when I use my newsletter or live video like we're doing now, it isn't to make a living. But I'm okay that for some people it is to make a living. Yeah. And I think it's good if they can do that. And it's really good if they can make enough money from it to just do that, because they're contributing something back to the world through doing it. That's good. Mm-hmm. Then I get to choose.
And there's a whole spectrum of people who mix those two approaches. Yeah. They're using it for self-promotion, or as they say, quote, exposure, unquote. And at the same time, they try and bring in a little money. And it recalibrates depending on how successful they are at one or the other.
Yeah.
I thought about how whether or not I would be interested in monetizing my newsletter. And I've decided to not even think about that anymore. I'm enjoying doing it. I like it. I like what I get out of it. What I get out of it is, Steve saying nice things about stuff that I've posted and getting some interesting comments back. I like that. And I like it enough to continue doing it, not looking for compensation.
Well, if we look further than the interests of the so-called creator economy, and look at the impact that these kinds of tools and products have on the larger issues, then it starts to be really significant. What's going on in the political arena right now as a result of two things: the announcements by the Justice Department regarding the Texas law, and the larger issue, or at least currently, of the mandates, where Biden seems to be really stepping up and saying, okay, bring it on. If you want to try and tie us up in the courts, gee, what else is new?
Yeah.
All right. So,
there's a couple of
where does that intersect with what Frank was talking about the value of producing content and directing content and sharing content? I mean, it seems to me that those are directly related. It's kind of like the ballot box of the future is the creator economy.
It's interesting that you point that out. I look at it this way. So there are those big overarching stories. To me, what I find interesting and what I want to share are those stories that are tangential to those overarching stories. Not necessarily the direct story of what they've done in Texas, or not the direct story of what the Justice Department has decided it's going to do based on Biden's decision to make it some kind of overarching thing that the entire government will look at.
There's already enough of that coverage.
Yes, and so there's that's the story that I was interested in putting on the table for a minute that I had not heard about until a few hours ago, was that Abbott had signed a social media censorship bill. Has anyone heard about that?
Sure.
I'm just hearing it now from you.
I mean, this is a theme that they've been going after. Section, what is it, 230? Dennis?
Yes, but this is very specific.
But they're
on the
specifically going after that from a conservative perspective, because it's squelching, in their opinion or their tactic, it's squelching conservative voices.
Yes, squelching conservative voices, and a guy like Abbott, his voice is being heard everywhere in a very weird way, clearly. Anyway, without the use of social media.
Well, throughout the use of the evolution of media, through all technologies, there have been people who have a point of view that try to work the refs, to try and influence what gets written, printed, broadcast, or tweeted.
That's the entire PR industry, right? I mean, that's their job.
Yeah.
But I think everybody's having this social media argument both ways. Which is it? Is it that social media is out of control and needs to be suppressed, or at least controlled, or is it that it really doesn't mean anything and it's just PR? I mean, I think that misses what's actually going on here.
Well, it's an odd thing for instance, Facebook to tell you out of one office that all of these influence posts really do nothing, and then out of the other office to say buy an ad on Facebook because it will help. So either it does or it doesn't. You can't have it both ways, can you?
I think what happens is as companies evolve, the ownership of strategy ceases to be as influential inside the company as the tactical reaction to the outside world. And so Facebook is in the unfortunate position today of being almost always in reactive mode. And it therefore doesn't have a coherent point of view, because its point of view zigzags according to the pressures put on it. And at the core, Facebook used to say, we're a platform that everyone can write on, we're open, we don't stop anything unless it's illegal, and we're hands off, and this is like the writing board for the world. And now they've evolved into, you can say this, you can't say that, we're going to block this today, but tomorrow we might change our mind, and now we've got an advisory board that tells us what we can block and what we can't block. All of that is the result of becoming big and tactical, as opposed to having a coherent true north, that they stick to.
This may sound very naive, what I'm about to say, because I'm not sure what I'm saying. There's an awful lot of talk about Facebook and news and the kind of news that Facebook posts. So there's a button on your Facebook feed that's called news. And you can go to that button, and that's basically a whole bunch of stories from all sorts of different sources. And then there's stuff that people write on their wall that looks and sounds and smells and feels like news. So those are two different kinds of newses. And then there's this department inside of Facebook that is run by a woman named Campbell Brown, who was a really solid journalist at NBC when I was there, who came from Capitol Hill. And I'm not sure, when somebody talks about what's news on Facebook, what of those three things are they talking about?
Dennis, we haven't heard a lot from you. What do you think?
I'm not thinking right now. Not thinking. I don't have any comments.
Well, then get your cat.
Sleeping.
What else
The
is
dog's
new?
Sleeping. The cats are sleeping.
They're not thinking either.
Okay, well then let's wind it up.
I'm confused by that. When somebody says they get their news from Facebook, are they getting it from people's walls? Are they getting it from the news area? Are they getting it from some groups? Or is that a combination of all of that stuff?
Well, I'm going to guess, because I don't know. I'm going to guess it's a combination of that. People post news articles from wherever they see them, and news organizations have deals with Facebook to promote their news. And what you see is a feed that's mysterious to me, how it all gets there. I mean, I presume it's algorithmically curated to keep me engaged, but I think everybody gets a different experience.
You know, to put on the brakes and make a sharp left-hand turn, I think one of the most interesting things that I read in the last couple of weeks was that TikTok has now gone beyond, in terms of users, has gone beyond YouTube. I find that to be very interesting, and it's
a specific thing. People who watch TikTok are engaged for longer than
they're addicted.
Watch YouTube. So YouTube is still far bigger than TikTok, and it's a headline that's designed to make TikTok look bigger than it is, but it's still a startling statistic.
Yeah,
it was the time spent on average. So I think,
but it's not the number of people who are spending time on it.
I'm sorry.
Correct.
Yes, it was
average,
definitely
it's average time
spent.
engagement.
Yeah,
per
which
user.
by the way is like you said, Michael, that's a pretty astounding statistic anyway.
Yes, it is.
to be honest, YouTube is more and more amazing to me. I look at it a lot now. Whenever I get obsessed with something, and recently it's been homemade espresso. It's unbelievable the talent and expertise on any topic on earth. You can go and find the best people who know their stuff, who will demonstrate it and teach you. I mean, compared to TikTok, which is entertainment, really.
Yeah.
YouTube is just a huge plus for the human race.
Well, YouTube is like Amazon. YouTube is Amazon.
Well, it is a great resource for training that's put up by people who just want to share what they know how to do. And I've used it many times when I get stuck trying to fix something around the house. How do you get this? There's always a demo on YouTube. It may be badly produced, but it's clear enough to figure it out.
Yep.
And it's also a huge resource for music, a huge resource for videos. Archival videos from old TV. The range of what you can find on YouTube is astonishing.
Yep. I
did a video of attaching a certain device called a Bigsby, basically, to a guitar, and it was a very specific device and a very specific guitar. It was a Duesenberg guitar and a specific tremolo pedal, wah-wah thing that goes on the guitar. And I just did it in about 20 minutes and stuck it on there. It's got like 5,000 views already. And it's crazy that, people went there and just to see, how do you put this thing on a guitar? It was very simple. I did the same thing with at the beginning of the pandemic with how to make your own hand lotion, because at the time you couldn't get hand lotion, you couldn't get toilet paper. couldn't figure out how to make toilet paper. So I figured out how to make hand lotion, and that did amazingly well too.
That's what Steve when Steve coined this phrase, micro communities. I managed to take out a fan from the air conditioning on my Mercedes E350 just under where the passenger seat is, and replace it with a new one. And anyone who knows me, that's like a miracle that I could do that. And I did it because on YouTube, somebody had done a step-by-step of the exact thing. And there's this whole micro community of Mercedes E350 owners who do DIY on their car. And almost everything is there. And that would be true I think that's true for the more specific, the more likely it's going to be there.
Absolutely. Do you need to change a gasket in your toilet? Do you need to change a light bulb in your car's, rear lights? Oh, my brake light went out. How do I get this off and put a new bulb in there? It's all there.
And then as soon as they do it in VR, which they have a section anyway for VR use on YouTube. I think that's going to be one of the things that may help push VR into mainstream. It's certainly not there yet, but I think it's trying to get there. And that's the way to do it, that and games.
And TikTok's totally different. I mean, it is fantastically entertaining. It's either funny or sweet, because it's someone with their pet, or a father and son or father and daughter doing stuff. But it's entertainment, and it's very, very, very good short form entertainment that you can, I don't, but my wife can spend more than an hour easily just flicking through things and watching them.
Okay, once around the table, starting with Dennis. Anything you want to say, or wrap it up?
I have to go look up my water heater on YouTube and figure out how to relight the pilot light, which is occupying a lot of brain space for me right now. Otherwise, I'm going to be taking cold showers all weekend.
Okay, Michael Markman.
There will be a new Apple product to talk about next week.
What will it be?
I think they're announcing phones and watches.
Well, do we care about the watch?
I do.
I mean, I like this one.
It's a question on what new sensors they're going to add in terms of health monitoring. I mean, that's the thing that I'm interested in.
Yeah, I wish they would make an Apple Watch that you could, if you crack the face, you can get it repaired easily, as opposed to having to replace the watch. The old version, the first and second versions, you could do that. After that, you couldn't.
I think they should concentrate on notifications. That's the only reason that I would be interested in an update at this point.
Well, but that's all software. That'll work on your old watch, won't it? I mean, I don't think you need new hardware.
What about the stuff that won't work on the old watch? That's part of what Apple does to drive adoption and upgrading. So I'm interested in that.
Well, that's why
the health. I really don't want an early warning of dropping dead. I'd rather just not drop dead.
Or drop dead.
Either way, but do I want to pay another $500 to be better informed about that? I don't think so. At least not right now.
A lot of people would actually like to save their lives with a watch.
Yeah, I think that's overrated. The number of people who save their lives with an Apple Watch.
You can't lift weights with an Apple Watch because it always says you fell down. At least that's it's been happening to me. I go like this. Oh, and it's like, have you fallen? Can we?
Crawl for a second?
Right. I've fallen, and I can't get up.
Yes, I can get up.
I'd like a watch that helps me get up. Okay, Keith.
I just thought I'd share with you this picture of myself from 1994.
Oh.
I'm the one on the left.
I was just going to say.
Somebody put it on Facebook as we were on the show, and I thought, whoa, that must be old. It's in Muizenberg in Cape Town on the beach with two friends of mine who were both South African. They were members of a left-wing anti-apartheid organization. One of them got tortured. They both had to become exiles in London. And this was 1994, 2 years after Mandela was returned, and it was their first visit back.
Wow.
Okay, Michael.
Well, I did. I will say this. While we were on the air, Apple released a statement about the ruling, and they describe it as a complete victory for the App Store. Resounding victory.
I think you're right. I really do. They're just going to take it off the top. Okay, 15% of 100% more product. Frank.
So I think we'd be remiss not to pay tribute to the people who lost their lives on the anniversary of 9/11 tomorrow, and those people who were there as first responders and the journalists who covered that story. And there's so many interesting stories that I hadn't heard about that are starting to pop up. A number of which I'm going to post on tomorrow's newsletter. But the one that struck me as pretty interesting was the Pentagon bringing a whole bunch of Hollywood heavyweights almost immediately after as things were starting to cool down to come in and to sort of war game ideas about other ways that terrorists could attack and where they might attack in America. I thought that was a really interesting story, and I'm going to post that tomorrow.
On the topic, I recommend looking on Medium at Jeff Jarvis's essay on 9/11. He's great. Got there just as the buildings were falling, and ran through this rain of dust. So it's on Medium. It's by Jeff Jarvis, and I recommend it. I'll put it into the Telegram.
He's very good.
And it is interesting that 20 years later, in the New York Times, the U.S. government, on the occasion of the first commercial flight out of Afghanistan, landing in Qatar yesterday, talked about how professional and businesslike the Taliban were in facilitating commercial flights out. Man, that's kind of a sea change of tone to me.
One of the this morning on my favorite morning show on Morning Joe, they had a great conversation with I think the guy that runs the Council on Foreign Affairs, and he was talking about how if 9/11 had not happened, a lot of the things that we talk about today, that the Muslim ban, for example, the fact that right after that, the amount of people that went in to study Arab languages and Arab and the Arab community just jumped off the scale. A lot of things that changed in society and in language and in the way things get done. There was no Department of Homeland Security. Didn't exist. There are lots of things that happened after it. Just find that
How
fascinating.
many of the things that happened after it are things that we wish hadn't happened?
Yep.
Well, that's true, and that's exactly true. But that's not what happened. So,
by the way, whoever mentioned it last week, the series Startup on Netflix, I'm now in season 3 of binge watching it for like 2 weeks now. It was 2 weeks ago somebody mentioned it. It's really good.
Have you checked out There Only Murders in the Building?
Yeah, it's very funny.
It's really good. It's really good.
But Startup is now I wish we had more time. Startup is the funny thing is, all these people from the Valley have been talking about going to Miami to do startups there, and this series is got every reason why you should not do that.
Ron DeSantis. there's
Well,
one
I'm-
called clickbait.
I wanna-
I'm looking at clickbait. I want to see what that's all about.
I want to second the thoughts about 9/11. I think we're living through as somebody pointed out yesterday, we're living through a 9/11 every 2 or 3 days at this point with the virus. And I think 20 years from now, hopefully there will be something for us to be talking about. I think I'd like to call out Joe Biden for acting like a president, which we desperately need, whether or not it works or not. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. We should also be condemning those people who don't support that. And how do you do that?
but
You do
no,
that with the vote.
condemning just
Well,
gives them oxygen to.
No, I mean,
spew
by
their
that, I mean the
garbage.
vote. Change, voting our conscience, getting
Well,
out
I was
the vote.
trying to connect voting to social media earlier in the show, and I didn't succeed. So, at what point does voting actually make a difference? But Keith has to jump, and I'm going to beat him to the punch by saying thanks to Keith Tier. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Dennis Pombriant.
Thanks.
Thanks, Frank Radis.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael Markman.
Thank you all. And thanks, Tina.
Yeah, well,
Hey, Tina.
I'm about to. Thanks
Okay.
to our producer and director, Tina Chase Gillmor.
Thank you. Nice show, guys.
And
Brent, who we
thanks to Brent Leary. And I had a wonderfully enjoyable time being on his show with Paul Greenberg last week, where I got to tell all the same stories again. And it was a lot of fun. So thanks for having me. Thanks to everybody who showed up, and more than ever, thanks to those that don't. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
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 Ciao.